My granddaughter, Lily, collapsed face first into my birthday cake at 7:23 p.m. My son-in-law Derek's accusation came before she hit the frosting. You poisoned her. He blocked me from reaching her, phone already at his ear, gaze sweeping from Emma to the doorway to me. I said nothing, watched him perform. At St. Anthony's ER, Dr. Maria Reyes, the physician who testified in 3 of my old cases, slipped a folded note into my palm. Check your cameras. I closed my fist around it. Before the story continues, tap subscribe and tell me what time it is where you are. Thank you for being part of this. My name is Nate Holbrook. I'm 60 years old, and for 32 of those years I processed crime scenes for the Denver Police Department. 2,147 scenes. I kept count, not because the number mattered, but because precision was the job. Every fiber, every fingerprint, every blood spatter pattern told a story. I knew how to listen. Defense attorneys tried to tear apart my work in over 400 trials. Not once did a judge throw out my evidence. Last case was the Hendricks murder. Defense brought in 3 experts to challenge my blood spatter analysis. All 3 walked out looking embarrassed. Sandra used to joke that I cataloged our marriage the same way. Anniversary dates, her favorite flowers, the exact shade of green she wanted for the kitchen walls. She wasn't wrong. Some men bring home their work stress. I brought home the habits. She died 2 years ago. Ovarian cancer, stage 3 by the time they caught it. I took early retirement the day after her diagnosis. The department offered extended leave. Sandra needed someone there for the chemo appointments. The middle of the night nausea. The slow fade of the woman I'd loved for 35 years. 6 months. That's what we got. The Craftsman House in Lakewood became her memorial after she was gone. I couldn't change it. Wouldn't. Her watercolors still hung in the hallway. Landscapes from our trip to Maine the summer before she got sick. Her cookbook collection filled the kitchen shelves, spines cracked from decades of Sunday dinners. The quilt she made for the guest bedroom stayed tucked across the foot of the mattress, waiting for visitors who rarely came anymore. Her prescription bottles still sat in the medicine cabinet. I should have disposed of them months ago. The rose garden along the south fence held 12 bushes. 1 for each major anniversary. I maintained them the way I'd maintained evidence chains. Proper pruning schedules documented in a notebook. Soil fee F-tested quarterly. Winter protection applied by the first hard frost. Last Christmas, I installed an 8-camera security system. Took me 3 weekends. Drilled through the eaves in January cold, fingers numb, breath fogging the lens covers. Covered every entrance, the garage, both hallways, the living room, and kitchen. Local storage, not cloud-based. 30 days of footage retention on a 4-terabyte drive in my bedroom closet. My daughter Emma said it was overkill for a quiet Lakewood street. Old habits, I told her. Emma, 34, pediatric nurse at St. Anthony's, married 5 years to Derek Cross. Mother to my granddaughter Lily, who just turned 7. Derek. I noticed the changes in him over 18 months. Small things at first. The way he'd linger in doorways during family dinners, eyes calculating the square footage. The comments disguised as concern. A reverse mortgage would free up capital you're not using, Nate. You're sitting on $500,000 in equity. I'd nod and change the subject. He'd smile and let it drop. But the smile never reached those pale blue eyes. The strip mall project was supposed to be his legacy. 40,000 square feet of retail space in Aurora, anchored by an urgent care clinic and a coffee franchise. I drove past 6 months ago. Steel framing exposed to the elements. Temporary fencing covered in graffiti. A porta-potty tipped on its side. Their house in Arvada told the same story if you knew how to read it. 4,200 square feet of McMansion bought at the peak of the market, now underwater on the mortgage. The wine fridge full of bottles Derek opened to impress guests. The home office, where I'd glimpsed stacks of unopened envelopes with red final notice stamps. And the watch, a luxury brand I recognized from a fraud case years ago. Retail price north of $8,000. Derek wore it to my 60th birthday dinner, the gold catching light every time he gestured. Emma made excuses for him. The market's tough right now. He's working on refinancing. Things will turn around. She looked tired. Scrubs wrinkled from a 12-hour shift. Eyes avoiding mine. Sandra would want you to help Emma. Derek's jaw worked as he said it. She'd hate seeing her daughter struggle while you maintain a shrine to a dead woman. I let the comment pass. Just filed it away like I'd filed away 10,000 other observations over 32 years. Brenda Yates caught me at the mailbox on a cold January morning. 68 years old, retired postal worker, lived 3 doors down since before Sandra and I moved in. She'd delivered our wedding invitations 36 years ago. She had the kind of memory that came from 30 years of delivering mail to the same roots. "Nate," she said, hands in her jacket pockets. "I've been meaning to mention something." I waited. Brenda wasn't one for small talk. "That son-in-law of yours. I've seen his car in your driveway 4, maybe 5 times in the past 2 months. Middle of the day when you're out jogging?" I looked at her. She shrugged. "Might be nothing. But he spent a good 10 minutes on your porch once. Walking around, checking the windows." I thanked her. Went inside. Made coffee in the kitchen Sandra had designed, surrounded by her cookbooks and the cast-iron skillet her mother had given us. Filed that away too. I didn't understand yet what was circling my family, what Derek was planning, what my dead wife's medication, still in the bathroom cabinet because I couldn't bring myself to throw it away, would be used for. But 32 years of reading crime scenes had taught me one thing. The evidence always tells you the truth. You just have to process the scene. The debt hit $400,000 in September. I know because Derek left his laptop open at Sunday dinner. Emma had stepped away to check on Lily. Derek went to the bathroom. The screen faced me across the table. A spreadsheet. Column A, creditors. Column B, amounts owed. Column C, days past due. 32 years of reading crime scenes had trained my eyes to absorb information whether I wanted to or not. $180,000 to Morrison Construction. $150,000 split between 2 private investors threatening lawsuits. $70,000 across 7 credit cards. $400,000 gone. Derek came back. His smile was tight as he angled the laptop away, just crunching some projections. The first real approach came 3 weeks later. Same table. Same Sunday dinner rhythm Sandra had established 20 years ago. Lily was coloring in the living room. Emma was loading the dishwasher. Derek leaned forward, elbows on the oak. "I've been thinking about your situation, Nate. This house. All this equity just sitting here. I'm comfortable." His jaw worked. Just think about it. By December, the suggestions turned into something else. We were in the garage. I was organizing my beekeeping supplies for winter storage. Cold air fogged our breath. Oil stains on the concrete from the car Sandra used to drive. Derek had followed me out, hands in his pockets. Sandra would want you to help Emma. Sandra would want a lot of things. She'd hate seeing her daughter struggle. I set down the smoker, looked at him. Emma isn't struggling. Her job is stable. Her daughter is healthy. Her father is right here. You know what I mean. I picked up the smoker again. "I don't think I do." He left without saying goodbye. His tires squealed on the ice. March. Sunday dinner again. "You're sitting on $500,000 in equity, maintaining a shrine to a dead woman." Emma was in the kitchen. She could hear every word. Her shoulders hunched tighter with each syllable. "Derek, no, someone needs to say it. Sandra's been gone 2 years. The house is too big for one person. The neighborhood's changing. Sell now? You'd clear 600,000 easy." I looked at my daughter. "Emma, do you feel this way?" She stared at the floor. Her hands twisted together. "Dad, maybe if you just considered?" I stood up. "Dinner's over." Derek's face went red. "This is exactly what I'm talking about. You won't even discuss it. There's nothing to discuss." He grabbed Emma's arm. "We're leaving." I watched them go. Emma glanced back once. Her eyes were wet. Brenda Yates's observation made sense now. The unauthorized visits. The time Derek spent examining my windows and doors. He wasn't casing the property for a break-in. He was appraising it. I checked my security footage that night. Found 4 instances over 2 months where Derek's car appeared in my driveway while I was out. December 3rd, 2:47 p.m. December 10th, 11:23 a.m. December 17th, 3:15 p.m. Each time, he'd walked the perimeter, checked the garage side door, peered through the kitchen window. The 3rd visit, he'd used a key, Emma's spare key, the one Sandra had given her when she graduated nursing school. I watched him move through my house. My wife's house, he opened cabinets, checked closets, spent 4 minutes in the bathroom where Sandra's medications still sat in the cabinet. I rewound, watched again. His hand reached for an amber prescription vial. Ondansetron, anti-nausea medication from her chemotherapy. He turned it over, studying the label. I could see his lips moving, reading the dosage information. Then he paused, set it back on the shelf. His expression shifted, something calculating behind those pale blue eyes. He came back the next week, December 24th, 9:17 a.m. Christmas Eve morning, while I was at the grocery store. This time, he went straight to the bathroom. No hesitation. He knew exactly what he wanted. The vial disappeared into his jacket pocket. Ondansetron, Sandra's anti-nausea medication. I knew what high doses did to children. Every crime scene investigator did. QT prolongation, cardiac arrhythmias, seizure-like symptoms. I didn't understand then. Didn't know what he planned to do with my dead wife's medicine, but I saved the footage. The isolation campaign worked slowly. Emma started canceling our Wednesday breakfasts. Too busy. Work's crazy. Lily has activities. When I suggested meeting for coffee, Derek was always there, speaking for her, guiding the conversation. One night in late January, I drove to their house to drop off Lily's birthday present early. Their living room window was open a crack. Dad stuck in the past. Derek's voice carried clearly. He refuses to move forward, won't adapt to reality. He's still grieving. It's been 2 years. At some point, grief becomes selfishness. I stepped back from the window, set the present on the porch, drove home. Derek Cross listened to true crime podcasts during his commute. 3 hours daily, minimum. I learned this from Emma during one of our rare calls. He's obsessed with them. Knows everything about every case. What kinds of cases? She laughed, but it sounded tired. Poisonings mostly. Perfect crimes that went wrong. He likes pointing out where they made mistakes. Says most criminals are stupid. A few days later, I stopped by their house unannounced. Derek's car was in the driveway, engine still ticking. Through the window, I could see him sitting behind the wheel, podcast still playing through the speakers. I caught fragments before he noticed me. The ondansetron dosing was the key evidence. If the defendant had calculated the weight-based ratio correctly. Derek spotted me, killed the audio, stepped out with that tight smile. Nate, wasn't expecting you. The connection formed slowly. $400,000 in debt. $900,000 in my assets. A medication already present in the target's home. And a true crime enthusiast who thought he was smarter than the criminals who got caught. I should have confronted him. Should have told Emma what I'd seen on the security footage. Should have changed my locks and revoked her key and called Detective Vega for advice. I did nothing. Filed the footage. Made coffee. Waited. In January, Derek started rehearsing. Emma mentioned it first. Derek's been stressed. Caught him talking to himself in the bathroom the other day. Something about calling 911. I filed that away with everything else. Then I saw it myself. February 8th. I'd driven to their neighborhood to return a casserole dish Emma had left at my house months ago. Their garage door was open. Derek's car was inside, engine off, windows up. He was alone, practicing. I couldn't hear the words through the glass, but I could see his face in the rearview mirror. The way he arranged his features. Shock first, then horror, then grief. He repeated the sequence 3 times. His lips formed shapes I recognized from 1,000 witness interviews. She's not breathing. My daughter's not breathing. Then his expression shifted, hardened, and he pointed at an imaginary figure. Him. He did this. I backed away, drove home, sat in Sandra's kitchen for an hour without moving. February 15th. The snowstorm arrived. Derek had 18 months of planning, $400,000 in motive, and an amber vial of my dead wife's medication in his pocket. I had 8 cameras covering every room in my house. I had footage of him stealing the ondansetron. I had 32 years of experience reading crime scenes. What I didn't have was proof of what he intended to do with it. Not yet. The snow started falling at 3 p.m. By 5, 8 inches blanketed the front range. Roads turned to glass. Emma called at 4030. Dad, we're not going to make it. The highways are a mess. You're 20 minutes away. Derek says the Jeep's sliding on black ice. I looked out the kitchen window. Snow fell straight down. No wind. My neighbor Ray had already shoveled his driveway twice. "Take side streets," I said. "Stay off the highway." Silence on the line. Then Derek's voice in the background, muffled but clear. "Fine, we'll leave now." They arrived at 5047. I watched from the porch as Derek's Jeep crept up the driveway, tires spinning once before finding purchase. Emma emerged first, Lily bundled in her purple coat, then Derek from the driver's side. He carried a bottle of wine. The gold watch caught the porch light as he handed me the bottle without meeting my eyes. "Happy birthday, Nate." "Sorry we're late." Lily threw her arms around my waist. "Papa, I made you a card at school." I picked her up, 7 years old and still light enough to lift. Her cheeks were cold from the walk up the driveway. "Inside, both of you, before you freeze." Sandra's grandmother's oak table seated 5. I'd set it that morning with the white linen cloth Sandra had embroidered for our 20th anniversary. Good china. Crystal glasses we only used twice a year. 60 candles on a vanilla buttercream cake. Lily's favorite flavor, chosen to please her even on my birthday. The seating arranged itself naturally. I took the head, where I'd sat for 35 years. Lily claimed the chair to my right, close enough to tug my sleeve when she wanted attention. Emma sat across from her daughter. Derek settled at the foot, nearest the kitchen doorway. I noticed the positioning. Filed it away. Dinner was roast chicken with rosemary potatoes. One of Sandra's recipes from the cookbook still propped open on the counter. Lily talked through the first course about her school play. She'd been cast as a sunflower in the spring production. "I have to stand very still, Papa, and then at the end, I get to bow." "That's the most important part," I told her. Derek checked his watch. 6,023. Then again at 6,031. Emma picked at her food. Her fork scraped the plate 3 times without lifting anything. 4 consecutive 12-hour shifts showed in the slope of her shoulders. "How's the hospital?" I asked. "Busy." She moved a potato across her plate. "Flu season." Derek's knee bounced under the table. The crystal glasses clinked with each vibration. "I'll refill drinks," he said. Rose from the table. Walked toward the kitchen with studied casualness. Casual enough that someone might not notice the deliberate pace. I noticed. The doorway framed his back as he moved toward the counter. I heard the refrigerator open. Close. 15 seconds passed. Then Derek reappeared, drinks balanced carefully. He set the purple cup beside Lily's plate. "Apple juice for the sunflower," he said. She grabbed it with both hands. Drank deep. Wiped her mouth with her napkin the way Emma had taught her. Dinner continued. I cut more chicken. Emma relaxed slightly as Lily described her costume. Derek's knee stopped bouncing. 40 minutes later, mid-sentence, Lily stopped talking. "Papa? Yes, sweetheart?" My head hurts. The color drained from her face. Grayish. I'd processed enough crime scenes to know what that pallor meant. "Lily?" Emma leaned forward. The seizure hit without warning. Lily's body went rigid. Her eyes rolled back. Her arms flew out, knocking the purple cup to the floor. She pitched forward, face first, into the birthday cake. 60 unlit candles scattered across the white embroidered linen. Frosting smeared across her cheek as her small body convulsed against the antique wood. Emma screamed. Derek was on his feet, phone already in his hand. "Oh my God." His voice cracked on the last word. The pitch climbed higher. "What did you put in the food?" I moved toward Lily. Derek blocked me, his arm across my chest, solid, planted like a barricade. "You poisoned her." The words echoed off Sandra's watercolors. Off the cookbook shelves. Off 35 years of Sunday dinners at this table. He dialed. Put the phone to his ear. 911? My daughter's having a seizure. My father-in-law, he was cooking. I think he put something in the food. She's not breathing right. Please hurry. I watched him perform. Watched him sweep his gaze from Emma to the doorway to me, making sure witnesses could see. Watched the rehearsed horror twist his features. The 911 operator's voice crackled through the speaker. Derek had it on loud enough for everyone to hear. The juice glass on the floor. The Purple Mermaid Cup spinning slowly in a puddle of apple juice. Derek's too quick accusation. The symptom onset that didn't match food poisoning. Emma knelt beside Lily, hands shaking, pediatric training overriding shock. She rolled her daughter into the recovery position. "Dad," she whispered. Her eyes found mine across the cake-covered table. "What happened?" I said nothing, because 32 years of reading crime scenes had taught me when someone was staging evidence, when someone was performing grief, when something was very, very wrong. And because I'd learned, after 2,147 scenes, that silence gathered evidence faster than questions. Diesel and antiseptic hung in the ambulance bay air. Red and blue lights strobed across the snow as the paramedics wheeled Lily through the automatic doors, Emma running alongside the gurney, one hand gripping her daughter's pale fingers. Derek followed 3 steps behind. Already talking. She collapsed at dinner. He prepared the food. He served the drinks. A nurse directed Emma to the pediatric treatment area. Another intercepted Derek. I stayed where I was, back against the wall, watching. Mateo Vega arrived at 8:47 p.m. That walk. Shoulders back, head on a swivel, scanning the room before committing to a direction. 20 years working crime scenes together. He came through the automatic doors with his shield already out, eyes finding me first. Nate, Mateo. He'd gained weight since I last saw him at Sandra's funeral. Gray in his beard now, but the same sharp eyes that missed nothing. What happened? My granddaughter collapsed at dinner. Derek materialized at my elbow. "Detective, I'm Derek Cross, Lily's father." I called 911. My father-in-law here was preparing all the food. He was alone in the kitchen for extended periods. Vega's jaw stayed set. His pen didn't move. "Sir, I'll need your statement." "Let's find somewhere quiet." I watched them walk toward the consultation room. Derek glanced back once. The tight smile was gone. Something harder underneath. 2 hours passed. Vega took statements from all of us separately. Derek went first, spending 43 minutes in the consultation room. Emma went second, her voice barely above a whisper. Then me. Walk me through the evening. So I did. Arrival times. Seating arrangement. The dinner itself. Lily's complaint about her head. The seizure. Vega wrote nothing down. Derek says you were alone in the kitchen. Derek says a lot of things. Is that a denial? I looked at my old colleague. The food was served family style, from the center of the table. Everyone ate the same thing. If I poisoned the chicken, we'd all be in treatment right now. Vega nodded, filed that away. Anything else you want to tell me? Not yet. He understood. 20 years of partnership teaches you that too. At 10:23 p.m., Derek stepped outside to take a phone call. I watched through the glass doors as he paced the ambulance bay, phone pressed to his ear, gesturing with his free hand. Dr. Maria Reyes, the attending physician I'd recognized from the Hendricks case 12 years ago, appeared at my shoulder. "Mr. Holbrook, Dr. Reyes." She didn't look at me. Her eyes stayed fixed on a chart in her hands. Paper pressed into my palm, folded tight. "I didn't see you tonight." Then she walked away. The consultation room door clicked shut behind her. I opened my hand. Hospital notepaper, edges ragged where she'd torn it from a pad. Her handwriting was the same doctor's scrawl I remembered from witness statements. "Tox doesn't match timeline. Kitchen cameras." 6:29 p.m. Through the glass, Derek was still on his phone, still performing concern with his body language while his mouth moved in sharp, clipped sentences. I walked toward the parking lot exit. The cold hit like a wall. 8 inches of snow covered my truck, the lot lights casting orange pools across the white expanse. My breath fogged in the air as I brushed the driver's door handle clear. Inside the cab, engine off, heater dead. The phone slipped twice before I got the security app open. The screen was cracked from when I'd dropped it. Rushing Lily to the car. Kitchen camera. Northwest angle. I scrubbed the timeline. 6 p.m., nothing. 6:15, Emma setting the table. 6,025, Lily coloring in the living room. Then 6:29:23 p.m. Derek walked into the frame. He glanced over his shoulder, reached into his jacket pocket, withdrew an amber prescription vial, unscrewed the cap. Lily's Purple Mermaid Cup sat on the counter, already filled with apple juice. Derek's hand tilted over the cup. He tapped the vial. 3 tablets dropped into the juice. He stirred with his finger, watching them dissolve. His face was visible, clear, lit by the overhead fixture. The timestamp burned white in the corner of the frame. He recapped the vial, slipped it back into his jacket, picked up the cup along with 2 other drinks, walked out of frame toward the dining room. I watched it 3 times. Then I screen-recorded the footage. Redundancy. Multiple preservation methods. Evidence must exist in more than one location. My son-in-law poisoned my granddaughter with my dead wife's medication to put me in prison. The drive home took 40 minutes in the storm. Windshield wipers fighting snow, tires slipping on ice. Radio off. My hands steadied on the wheel. The shock was fading. My hands stopped shaking. I knew what to do next. I knew what to do. I'd done it 2,147 times before. The garage door opened to Sandra's old parking space, empty since I sold her car last spring. My workbench lined the far wall, pegboard tools hanging in order. And on the bottom shelf, the case I'd kept after retirement, just in case. I carried the forensic kit into the kitchen, snapped on nitrile gloves, pulled out a paper evidence bag, the digital camera, a permanent marker. The juice glass stood where Derek had set it after pouring. I photographed it in place. Distant shot, close up. Scale reference with a ruler from the drawer. Then I lifted it by the rim, exactly the way I'd lifted 10,000 other pieces of evidence. Slid it into the paper bag. Sealed the top. Wrote the date, time, and my signature across the seal. The Purple Mermaid Cup was in the dishwasher. Derek had placed it there after dinner, thinking he was destroying evidence. But trace residue survives a wash cycle. Any competent lab would find the ondansetron. I photographed its position, bagged it, sealed it, documented. I wrote 4 names on the evidence bag. Myself, Emma, Derek, Lily. One of those names didn't belong. I worked until 2 a.m., processing my own home like a crime scene. Because that's what it was now. My son-in-law had poisoned my granddaughter with my dead wife's medication to steal my house. The evidence bag sat in a row on Sandra's counter. 4 names, one that didn't belong. The call went through at 2:07 a.m. Mateo, I need you to come to my house. Bring an evidence tech. I've got something that changes everything. Nate? His voice was thick with sleep. What's going on? I'll explain when you get here. 34 minutes later, headlights swept across my front window. I watched Mateo Vega step out of his unmarked sedan. He scanned the street before approaching. The habit of a man who'd walked into too many wrong addresses. Behind him, a younger woman in a Jefferson County windbreaker carried a field kit. The porch light caught the gray in his beard as I opened the door. Nate, I hope you have something real. It's not good. But it's the truth. I led them to the kitchen. Sandra's grandmother's oak table, the same table where Lily had collapsed 8 hours earlier, now held case files arranged in presentation order. The security system NVR sat at the center, cables running to my laptop. 2 evidence bags flanked the computer, sealed and signed. Everything labeled, everything logged. Mateo stopped in the doorway. His eyes moved across the spread. Jesus, Nate. The evidence tech set her kit on the counter. I didn't recognize her. Young, maybe 30. Probably joined after I retired. This is Rodriguez, Mateo said. Best tech we've got. I nodded at her. What am I looking at? Mateo pulled out a chair. I kept my feet. This wasn't a conversation for sitting. At 6:29 p.m. yesterday, my son-in-law Derek Cross entered this kitchen alone. He removed an amber prescription vial from his jacket pocket. He dissolved 3 tablets of ondansetron in my granddaughter's juice cup. Then he served it to her at dinner. The tip from Dr. Reyes at the hospital had pointed me here. She'd noticed the onset timeline didn't match Derek's dinner claim. Mateo's jaw tightened. You have evidence of this? I turned the laptop toward him, pressed play. The kitchen camera footage filled the screen. Timestamp, 6:29:23 p.m. Derek walked into frame. He glanced over his shoulder. His hand dipped into his jacket pocket and emerged with the amber vial. Sandra's ondansetron. He unscrewed the cap, tapped 3 tablets into Lily's Purple Mermaid Cup, and stirred with his finger until they dissolved. His face was clear in the overhead light. No shadow, no obstruction. Mateo's jaw tightened. His pen didn't move. I let it play through, then rewound and played it again. On the second viewing, Rodriguez moved closer to the screen. Her pen scratched against her notepad. Standard procedure. The third time through, Mateo reached for his phone. I need Sergeant Chen, he said into the receiver. Yeah, I know what time it is. This can't wait. I pushed the first evidence bag across the table while he talked. The juice glass, still containing residue from Derek's pour. Paper bag, sealed at 2:14 a.m. My signature across the seal, along with the date and time of collection. Chain of custody documentation is underneath, I said. Rodriguez examined the bag without touching it. Proper sealing. Proper labeling. She'd worked with my methods before, even if she'd never worked with me. Mateo ended his call. Warrants being drafted. Walk me through the rest. I pointed to the second evidence bag. The cup Derek used. Lily's Purple Mermaid Cup. He put it in the dishwasher after dinner, thinking he was destroying evidence. But trace residue survives a wash cycle. Rodriguez's pen scratched against her notepad. I slid a folder across the table. Statement from Brenda Yates, my neighbor. She observed Derek's vehicle in my driveway on 4 separate occasions over the past 2 months when I wasn't home. December 3rd, 10th, 17th, and 24th. Each visit, he walked the property perimeter. The December 24th visit, he used a key to enter my house. Mateo opened the folder. Read the statement. You have footage of these visits? I pulled up 4 additional clips. Timestamps matched Brenda's observations. December 24th showed Derek going straight to my bathroom, his hand reaching for Sandra's medication, the vial disappearing into his pocket. Premeditation, Rodriguez said. Mateo rubbed his face. The toxicology report from the hospital, I continued, on Dancitron poisoning. If Lily ingested the drug at dinner, symptoms would have appeared sooner. She ingested it before the meal started. At 6:29 p.m., exactly when Derek put it in her cup. Mateo looked at the paused footage on my laptop. Derek's face, frozen mid-pour. My son-in-law gave my 7-year-old granddaughter my dead wife's medication to put me in prison. The room stayed silent for a long moment. Then Mateo stood. I need to make some calls. 2 hours later, Jefferson County had a warrant. The State Anthony's waiting room held the same chairs, the same fluorescent lights humming overhead, the same antiseptic smell from 8 hours earlier. But the audience had shifted. Night staff replaced by morning shift. The handful of witnesses who'd been there when Derek screamed his accusations had been joined by others. Derek sat in the far corner, phone to his ear, performing exhaustion. He hadn't changed clothes, hadn't left the hospital, the devoted father maintaining vigil. 2 uniformed officers entered through the automatic doors. Mateo walked behind them. I stood near the admissions desk, close enough to see, far enough to stay out of the way. Derek looked up as the uniforms approached. His face cycled through confusion, then concern, then the rehearsed grief he'd been wearing all night. Officers, is there news about Lily? Derek Cross, the first uniform said. You're under arrest for first-degree assault, child abuse, and filing a false police report. The color left his face. What? Hands behind your back, sir? This is insane. His voice climbed. His hands jerked against the cuffs. I'm her father. I called 911. The second uniform pulled out handcuffs. Derek's eyes swept the room, found Emma standing near the pediatric wing entrance, found the witnesses watching from their seats, found me, him. His voice broke on the word. He's the one who did this. He's the one who poisoned her. The handcuffs clicked. You have the right to remain silent. This is a mistake. His face twisted, reddening, the calculated composure gone. I'm her father. I'm her father. Emma stood frozen near the pediatric wing entrance. Her eyes stayed on Derek as the officers turned him toward the exit. The same audience who'd heard him accuse me watched him shuffle past in handcuffs. The same waiting room, the same fluorescent lights. Different ending. Derek looked back once as they led him through the automatic doors. His mouth opened to say something else. The automatic doors slid shut. Whatever he meant to say died in the ambulance bay. The charges stacked up. First-degree assault. Class 3 felony. 4 to 12 years. Child abuse. Filing a false police report. Jefferson County didn't mess around when the victim was 7 years old and the evidence was time-stamped in high definition. I sat in the gallery for the arraignment, second row, behind the prosecution's table. Derek shuffled in wearing orange scrubs, wrists cuffed to a belly chain. No gold watch, no styled hair, no artificial tan under the fluorescent courtroom lights. Just a man who'd bet everything on being smarter than a career forensic investigator. The judge set bail at $500,000. Derek's attorney, a public defender who looked barely old enough to shave, requested a reduction. Denied. I watched Derek's parents in the front row. His father, Gerald, I learned from the bail hearing, was a retired middle manager with a pension and a reverse mortgage. His mother, Patricia, clutched a tissue. They'd overextended themselves for Derek before. Private school when public was good enough. A down payment on his first failed business. Co-signing loans they couldn't afford. $500,000 was beyond their means. Everyone in that courtroom knew it. Derek turned to look at them as the bailiff led him away. His mother sobbed. His father stared at the floor. The investors moved next. Morrison Construction filed liens against every asset Derek had listed on his loan applications. The retired dentist who'd put in his grandchildren's college fund retained a litigation attorney. The small business owner who'd mortgaged her shop joined a class action. Within 2 weeks, 6 separate civil proceedings had been initiated. The strip mall project, Derek's supposed legacy, became a feeding ground for creditors. I drove past the site in late March. Steel framing exposed to spring rain, temporary fencing covered in fresh graffiti. Someone had spray-painted a single word across the plywood barrier: fraud. The bank foreclosed on the Arvada McMansion by mid-April. I learned this from Emma, who was living in her childhood room by then. She'd driven past their old house to collect the last of Lily's things and found a for-sale sign in the yard. The mortgage exceeded the home's value by $60,000. The bank wanted out. Emma didn't cry when she told me. She just sat at Sandra's kitchen table. Her fingers traced the wood grain, the same pattern she'd traced as a child. Lily recovered in 8 days. Dr. Reyes pulled Emma aside on the 3rd day. Ondansetron poisoning in children is rarely fatal, she said. Cardiac effects are dose-dependent. Lily had received enough to cause alarming symptoms, but not permanent damage. Derek knew this. All those podcast hours studying perfect crimes, and he'd missed the obvious: 8 cameras recording to local storage. He'd chosen a medication that would terrify but not kill. A grandfather accused of murdering his granddaughter gets life. A grandfather accused of attempted murder gets decades. Either way, the house goes to Emma. The assets liquidate. The debts disappear. What his podcasts hadn't taught him was how to outsmart 32 years of forensic training. He'd researched poisoning methods and evidence disposal. He'd rehearsed his 911 performance. He'd studied cases where criminals got caught due to stupidity he wouldn't replicate. But he never considered that his target had processed 2,000 crime scenes, that the house he was trying to steal had 8 cameras recording to local storage, that the man he was trying to frame had spent 3 decades testifying in court without ever having evidence thrown out. Derek thought he was the smartest person in the room. He was wrong. Emma filed for divorce on April 3rd. Emergency custody petition followed 3 days later. She'd been staying in her old room since the night of the arrest, Lily's things filling the corner by the window. I drove her to the courthouse both times. Watched her sign papers that ended 5 years of marriage. She didn't speak on the drive home. I didn't push. That night, I found her in Sandra's rose garden, kneeling in the dirt, pulling weeds by hand, the way her mother used to do. 6 weeks ago, Derek was demanding a reverse mortgage. Now my daughter slept in her childhood room, and her husband was awaiting sentencing. The neighborhood rallied. Brenda Yates brought casseroles Monday and Thursday. The Newans took Lily when Emma worked nights. Mrs. Patterson, who was 83 and hadn't left her house since December, walked across the street to tell me she'd always thought Derek was too slick by half. The Martin's son, the one whose bicycle I'd fixed years ago, mowed my lawn without asking. These were people who'd known me for 32 years, who'd watched Sandra plant those rose bushes, who'd seen Emma grow up and get married and have a daughter of her own. They didn't need evidence or testimony to know where their loyalty belonged. Derek pleaded guilty on May the 17th. His attorney had advised against it. The prosecution's case was strong, but not unbeatable. A jury might sympathize with a father, even one caught on camera. Appeals were possible. Technicalities existed. But Derek would have had to sit in court while they played the footage. Watch himself poison his daughter's juice. See his face frozen mid-pour, projected on a screen for everyone to witness. Answer questions about the true crime podcasts and the stolen medication and the 18 months of planning. He took the deal instead. 8 years. Eligible for parole in 4. I attended the sentencing hearing. Same gallery seat, same view of Derek in orange scrubs. The judge asked if the defendant had anything to say. Derek stood, looked at Emma in the front row, at Lily, who sat beside her grandmother Patricia, too young to understand why Daddy was wearing those clothes. His mouth opened, closed. I'm sorry? 2 words. The same words Sandra used to say after small arguments. They meant nothing then either. The bailiffs led him away. I drove past the strip mall site one more time on my way home. The graffiti had spread. Fraud. Scam. Liar. The community's verdict, written in spray paint across Derek's failed legacy. His Costa Rica dream, the beach house and the fresh start and the new identity, died in a Colorado prison cell. The same cell where he'd spend the next 8 years thinking about a kitchen camera he never knew existed. That evening, I tended Sandra's roses while Lily helped check the beehives. 7 years old and already learning to document queen health, to notice patterns, to pay attention. Emma watched us from the porch, coffee in hand, scrubs ready for her night shift. 3 generations in a craftsman house. Not what any of us planned. Plans change. Evidence tells the truth. If you felt that, smash like and rate my story from 1 to 10. I read every single comment. 6 months after the courtroom doors closed behind Derek, the roses bloomed along the south fence. 12 bushes, 12 major anniversaries marked in petals. I knelt in the dirt, pruning shears in hand. Sandra used to kneel here every Saturday morning. Same position, same shears. The August sun warmed my back through flannel. Lily worked beside me, her small hands wrapped in gardening gloves 2 sizes too big. "Papa, this one has bugs." I leaned over, aphids clustering on a new bud. The same problem Sandra battled every summer. "We'll spray them tomorrow. For now, pinch off that leaf." She did. Careful, methodical, the way I'd taught her. The beehives hummed in the back corner. 60,000 bees going about their ordered lives. After we finished with the roses, Lily would help me check the frames. She'd learned to read the patterns. Brood cells healthy, queen present, honey stores building for winter. All documented in the waterproof notebook she kept in her own handwriting now. Emma's car pulled into the driveway at 7:15 a.m., tires on gravel, engine off. End of her night shift at St. Anthony's. She'd started the nurse practitioner program last month. Classes during the day while Lily was at school. Work at night while I kept watch. 3 of us under one roof now. Sandra's watercolors still hung in the hallway. Her cookbooks still lined the kitchen shelves. Her table still held our Sunday dinners. Brenda Yates walked past on her morning route. I raised a hand. She waved back. A jar of summer honey sat on my porch, labeled and ready for her. Payment for the testimony she never asked to give. Lily tugged my sleeve. "Papa, can I write down the queen cells today?" "You can," she smiled. 8 years old now and already learning what mattered. Patience, observation, the quiet work of tending things that needed time. Sandra used to joke that I cataloged everything. The documenting never stopped. She was right. But 32 years of training wasn't a burden when someone tried to frame me. It was a gift. They didn't account for 2,147 crime scenes. For 32 years of reading evidence. For me.